Welcome back, everybody. Now, I haven't given a trigger warning for a while, so if you're a Trump supporter and you've ended up on this channel, there's been a mistake, right? Because on this channel, we regard the current and hopefully temporary President of the United States as a lecherous con artist, a bullying fascist with the brain of a goldfish. Okay, now, while we're on the subject of fascism, what's with the Antifa business, right? Antifa started as anti-fascist, so anti-far, and suddenly in the last 3 weeks or so, it's become Antifa, which sounds like somewhere you'd go on holiday and have, you know, long pink drinks or something. Bring back Antifa as the pronunciation. Now, I know I'm Australian and we have a weird accent to the rest of the world, but in my view, it should be Antifa. So, apart from everything else, you have Trump accusing the 75-year-old man who was pushed over and cracked his head on the pavement, quoting some bizarre and benighted conspiracy view that he was a member of Antifa. I mean, he'll stop at nothing. Nothing. Okay, now we need to look at how the elections are going to play out. We can all expect interference, and in a minute I'll be looking at whether China is interfering as well as Russia. But with all the regular routine voter suppression, gerrymandering, and making things difficult, it's barely a democracy. I'm sorry, American viewers, but I can't understand how it's been allowed to deteriorate to this extent, you know. And democracy, let's all remind ourselves, for the people, by the people. I think it had to get this bad for people to actually fight for the right for real elections. Not machines that don't work and closed polling booths and stuff. If it was happening in a fledgling country that had just been democratic for a few years or something, they do better in Afghanistan. Seriously, with the fingerprinting and stuff that goes on, it's staggeringly bad. And my advice would be to, particularly if you live in those vulnerable states like Georgia and so on, pretend to be a Republican. Write to your Republican thing saying, I've been a lifelong Republican. I just want the elections to be fair for all Americans, or something like that. Yeah. But you're going to have to be vigilant with all this stuff. So we're going to look, first of all, is China interfering with this election cycle? We know Russia is, that's a given. China. Sorry, the cat is just walking across the table yet again. He hogs the limelight. Okay. China and the elections. I'm using the regular old school rider weights. Let's see here. Hard to see here. Oh, you naughty cat. You are the worst cat in the world. Really, you are. Okay. Well, the answer is yes. So let me explain why. The raised sword of the Page of Swords. So this is the intention to do something and not be stopped in doing it. So I would suggest yes. That's followed by the Death card. Usually the card of rebirth, death and rebirth. But in this context, a yes or no question about China, it's more the card of transition. So it's transitioning into a more active role I think it's going to try on many fronts. I suspect going to try on many fronts. So transitioning to different forms of activity, and the Emperor, which is my trump card, generally speaking. He comes up in various incarnations, but this is one of them. I'm going to do a clarifier on this because as far as I'm concerned, it's a yes to China interfering, but Russia interfering for Trump. Is China going to interfere to try and get the Yeti out? Let's have a look at that question. These are my little baby Sibylla cards. They're so sweet. So is China going to try and get Trump out? This could be interesting. Is China going to try and get Trump out? Let's have a look. The friend, the sickness, delirious. Oh, this is interesting. I think this is pretending to be the friend. This is serenading the beloved. I think this is in the past position. So that's when Xi could do no wrong and did a marvellous job with the pandemic and everything. This was earlier in the year. Now the relationship between the two countries is sick in more ways than one. Definitely not well. But the outcome card, it's almost delirious. In Italian, it's deliranti. Any Italian viewers, excuse my bodgy pronunciation, deliranti. Joy and delirium on top of the Emperor card. So I think they're actually very focused on interfering. I think they'll be harder to prove than the Russians, because the Russians didn't have to hide anything because they had the whole GOP on side. They had Trump saying, I love Russia. They had it all out there. So they didn't have to pretend, even though they had secret, hackers and things going on. It was all known. China, it's much harder to read, much harder to know. So I think it might be a more subtle interference, but it'll be on several fronts simultaneously. China is very defensive about how the world is reacting to 5G too. So I think it's going through its own transitions now with Hong Kong and Taiwan and everything. We'll look at China properly another time. Okay. So what else are we looking at today? Oh, I got lots of feedback on the Ivanka question. Has Ivanka had 3 children without being pregnant? Now, many of you sent me images of Ivanka allegedly pregnant. There's still some debate between us all on the forum. Is that a silk cushion she stuffed up a jumper to try and look pregnant and she used a surrogate? We don't know for sure. Or if she was actually pregnant, the conclusion would be, like a lot of wealthy women, you have the elective cesarean, bringing me back to the point of being too posh to push, which seems to have been embraced by people. So yes, Ivanka, she of the voting machines from China. I mean, how does it happen? How does it happen? Okay, now the next thing I wanted to read on was, oh yes, Trump, there's no way of stopping this man. He's now blatantly taken the side and the lead of the white supremacist movement of the USA, it seems. So he's going to give his congressional speech or whatever it is, not convention speech, I mean, Jacksonville, Florida, on the anniversary of a KKK organised attack called the Axe Handle attacks. 60 years to the day, he is choosing that day and that place to give his speech. Have you heard of anything more disgusting? No. Just dreadful. So let's have a look at how that's going to go. It didn't go well with the cadets, did it? The poor young cadets, they had to come back and go through 2 weeks of quarantine to listen to the Yeti babble forth. They can't have been happy about that. As hundreds of them said, this could have been delivered by video. All right, so we're looking at Jacksonville, Florida, the convention speech. Jacksonville, Trump in Jacksonville. I don't think it's going to be his finest moment, intrepid viewers. No, here he is. He was the emperor in the previous reading. My other card for him is the King of Pentacles. Why? Because it's the greedy king. Money, real estate, jewels, power, and not enough. Pay me tribute. He wants tribute. So, on top, he's out in the cold. This to me signify it might not be attended well, or if the numbers are up because they'd fill any vacancies, they'll pay people to attend. If there is a full house, the message is not going to go down well. It's also the afflicted. Are people prepared to risk their health to go into a closed environment to hear the pearls emanate from the Yeti? In other words, this is an extremely uncomfortable card signifying loss of money and prestige and even security being pushed out. And we'll come to the bookend for that in a moment. Here we have a more positive King of Wands. This is, I suspect, here are the two trumps, right? The Gemini, the two trumps. This is him trying to be a statesman, trying to be a president. He really shouldn't try. I mean, he can't pull it off. It's really embarrassing. But I think this is him pretending he's an actual King of Wands, a man of quiet authority, you know, a man who considers all things before he speaks, all those things that no one associates with the Yeti. So this is his fantasy self appearing at this event. But who turns up? His real self, which will be talking all about me, all about me. The King of Wands has the speech that's been written and should be talked about, you know, saying sort of normal things. But this is how it ends up. And here's the double whammy. I think people will be disappointed. This is not him, this is the people who go, I think. So even if they're going rah, rah for the cameras, they're going to come away feeling left out somehow. And this is loss, disappointment, and I think he's going to feel it too. He's going to feel it. This is a mistake for him, I think. I really do. Let's have a look at, I'm just going to pull an astro card or two for the vibe. The vibe of this event. Give me some astrology for this Jacksonville event. Let's have a look. All right, we have here Uranus, sudden chaos and unpredictable change. That's over him who's supposed to read his speech, this is what actually happens. He throws it literally away. Libra, which is people balancing the scales, they've come to see him there in his camp, but they're actually the Libran scales, they're weighing it up. And the one that's over their disappointment, here we have the Saturn card, and Saturn's the card of restriction and discipline and all those things. So I think the sudden unpredictability of what he raves about upsets the balance for people who are not happy with his lack of discipline. Well, if you live long enough, you see it all, don't you? As my dear old dad used to say. Now, on top of that, he's going off to Tulsa to celebrate another KKK anniversary, which was the 1921 massacre in Tulsa. So these two events are not coincidental, they're driven. And who's behind these, do you think? Well, you've got the barely disguised reincarnation of Goebbels in Stephen Miller. And so let's look at him. We haven't heard much from Stephen Miller since his wife came down with COVID. The Bride of Frankenstein apparently tested positive. So let's have a look at Stephen Miller. Dreadful, dreadful, horrifying man, truly horrifying man. His family came out early, I think 2016, 2017, to publicly disavow him as a Jewish family, to say they don't understand how he has become the fascist stroke Nazi that he has become, you know, his whole family. So let's look at Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller. All right, he gets a couple of nights. Okay, he's still in the saddle. He still has far more power than he should, but this is the cautious knight. I think he's not quite as bold and out there. Well, he's definitely not as bold and out there as he was. It's not that his ideology has changed, because it hasn't. It so hasn't, but he's reined back a bit. What's coming now, as Trump goes to these two events, which are blatantly provocative, he's going to receive the 8 of Wands. Trump will at least start with the Stephen Miller speech, which will wind up both these audiences. And that's going to have repercussions that are going to come back on both Trump and Stephen Miller, a lot of them. This is him. See, he got the cautious knight and the hangman. I mean, he's hanging around. He might have mellowed ever so slightly since getting married, but you'd have to think she's triple-decker weird herself to marry him. So the hangman, things aren't happening at the moment. Things are suspended at the moment. If you're reading for a normal person and not a reincarnated Nazi, it can be getting a new perspective. I very much doubt it. I mean, maybe one of these people will eventually step out of the darkness into the light and admit it, but I doubt it's going to be Stephen Miller. So suffice to say, he's been much more tentative than he used to be. He then gets his 3 of Wands, waiting for his ship to come in, so he's being patient here. But he is going to, this is only now. What's going to come out, what we're going to see now with these two speeches that I predict are going to be shocking, absolutely shocking. he's going to move back into his Fred Flintstone modus operandi and just hit people over the head. So he's been held back, but no holds barred, followed by the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is the least pleasant of the knights. Really quite a complicated card, quite a complicated representation. This is going for it into the headwinds. The impulsive knight. This can be the card of vengeance, revenge. It's also impulsivity. So the cards are sort of quiet and subdued and then going for it. So expect speeches that are so vile and so poisonous that they're going to go into the history books. I think they're going to be that bad. Stephen Mellon. Oh, my hair's got the frizz going. Yes, I have been to the hairdressers. Now, intrepid viewers will know my hairdresser, Betty from Baghdad, bless her, a Syrian Christian born in Baghdad, now living in Australia, she has retired. I'm gutted. I'm totally gutted. And so now I've had to go to see another hairdresser. Anyway, we move on. There are bigger things afoot. Now, what's happening here? We've got the fence around the White House. I love those jokes. Did Mexico pay for it and all of that? What else about it? Oh, yes, I know. Hillary has to go to court in September, apparently to be accountable for her email episode. I hope that she gets a forum for a minute publicly to talk about how the Yeti uses his unsecured iPhone, the only one he can work with his little stumpy digits, and Ivanka's use of a private email server as well. Why has Ivanka been left off the hook with all this? You know, she was hauled up numerous times over her use of a private server. So let's have a quick look. Lindsay, Queen of Swords Graham, is going hard out drafting subpoenas. Why should they comply with those subpoenas? But anyway, let's look at Hillary in court in September. Hillary in September. Other things you've been asking me, Prince Andrew, will he be brought back to the US to testify? I'm not reading on it. You know how I feel about the royals. They won't. Even though he's been a pain in the butt to them since he was young and known as Randy Andy and all of that, and the embarrassing things he keeps doing because he can't help himself, they're going to close ranks. There's no way a royal prince from the UK is going to come and help the FBI out on the Epstein stuff. No, don't see it. What else have you been asking? Oh, on the VP issue. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's get back to Hillary. Hillary, September, what's going to happen with this testifying? Right. Oh, she's working on a strategy. She'll be fine. She'll be fine if it goes ahead, because as we know, just sitting here, viewers, anything can happen week to week. And September is after July and August. And there's a long way to go in July and August for you guys. So it might not happen. But if it happens, she's got a strategy she's already working on because she's that sort of person. Yeah. She's enormously strong and focused, enormous inner strength. The Chariot means she'll use the platform, or if she has to appear, she'll use it and run over them, whoever they have allegedly cross-examining her had better be on their game, because there's nothing wrong with Hillary's brain. Juggling and manipulation, I think she's strong enough to run over them and in fact manipulate the whole situation. The outcome's good, women celebrating. So don't worry, if she has to appear, she'll use it to her advantage. It'll be a good thing. Okay, so let me put those cards back. So what have we got? Let's look quickly at Trump's health, because he doesn't like stairs apparently, and he certainly doesn't like ramps, and he had trouble with the ramp at West Point, could have been the bone spurs playing up, and then needed 2 hands for a glass of water. So let's look at his health. I mean, someone with his profile, you'd have to think could be a problem. Then we'll look at the VP situation quickly. Health of the Yeti. Anything we should know about the health of the Yeti? I just heard declining. Okay. Health of the Yeti. Wow, he gets 3 pages. This is my GOP card generally. And then there's 3 younger people. Why has this turned up in a Trump reading? How curious is this? So we've got the Page of Pentacles, the Page of Swords, and the Page of Wands. Now, pages are about messages. Pentacles are about money, yes. Resources, yes. Real estate, yes. But about the body. It's bringing a message about the body. Here we have the Page of Swords again, the spy in the camp. I think this could be someone releasing some medical details about him. And it could be in spoken form. Page of Wands is a speaker. So in other words, I think it's going to be the talk of the town for a while. So something is happening. The GOP are sitting on it. They know. The GOP, I suspect, knows, but they're sitting on it. But we are going to get a message about the body that is leaked and will be talked about. Oh, well, wowie zowie. Now, I'm going to look now. The choices for VP, on the one hand, you could say Biden's spoiled for choice. There's so many capable, good, inspiring, competent women on the short list. But is it even his call? Is it not Nancy's who might decide in the end? And does that matter? Are they of one mind? So rather than going person by person, because there's Val Deming, Susan Rice, Elizabeth Warren should not be discounted. Please don't discount Elizabeth Warren, although the expectation is for a woman of colour. Biden also has to keep the white working class vote on board. So, so let's have a look. She'd be great as a Secretary of Labor or something, though, too. It's very hard to pick this one, and that's because I think it's genuinely up in the air. Whatever rubric they're using to choose from these amazing women, it's going to be a toughie. It's going to be a toughie. So I'll like to look, I'll do a quick 5-carder at how the process is going behind the scenes. So how's choosing the VP going? Choosing the VP, how's it going? How's it going? Not clear cut, so not clear cut. For what do I think here? I think there's a ruthlessness to the Five of Swords. I'm not going to dress it up. This is a victory at any price. This is the behind the scenes argument. Whoever we've got has got to be a guaranteed winner for Biden across the board. So while you and I might be perfectly happy with virtually any of the options on the table, it's much more fraught than I thought. It's interesting. What's going on behind the emotional issues? It's weighing up the emotional thing of this should be a black woman, this has to be a black woman, appealing to the emotions of now, which would make total sense. Equally, they've got to be careful of their emotions. Careful of their emotions. So what's underlying the issue is they've got to be tough, direct, and I'm not alone in saying this, I'm sure, with other readers. Biden is showing his age. His health's sort of okay at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't finish his presidency or took a back seat quite early on. The point being, this has to be one strong woman, almost with masculine qualities of that assertiveness, no nonsense stuff. But most of them who are in the mix would still fulfill this criteria. What's on top? Ace of Pentacles. So, an offer of something new and quite magical, right? But money talks. There's a money aspect here to this lot of Pentacles. So I'm thinking the donors are having more of a say than I maybe realised. I think this is speaking to the big PAC Dem donors, and they might favour this one over that one. I think Nancy is factoring this in as well as Biden. I hate to say it, but I think money's going to play a factor in this. Outcome, Page of Pentacles. So maybe one of the younger candidates, none of them are spring chickens, but someone with a really good brain. Again, most of them, well, all of them, these are all smart women. But there's a youthfulness about this person. Equally, this could be they're weighing up, here we go, they're weighing up the emotional issues around this choice, they're weighing up the financial issues in terms of the donors, and they're weighing up who's going to attract the youth vote. And if they aren't, they should be looking at who comes, who can bring the 18 to 29s, the 18 to 35s on board, and they should be thinking about this. Wow. So we'll see what transpires. Okay, now a couple of other things. One is I woke up the other day thinking about Felix Sater. I really need to get out more, intrepid viewers. I need to get out. Felix Sater, please spare me. He was very active in Trump world for the last 25 years. He is a Russian who's got American citizenship, and it was Felix who brokered all those deals with the Russian oligarchs to launder money through Trump org. Allegedly, umbrella over all this, but he did. And he's been an FBI informant for years too. He's played both ends against the middle forever. Could be one of the more treacherous people to draw breath. But the thing about Felix Sater is he famously said to the Yeti, Dunny, you and I are going to end up in jail for the stuff we're doing. He said that 10 years ago. And I woke up thinking about Felix Sater. So just remember that if his name turns up. Oh, bottom of the deck. I was just about to shuffle. Oh, okay. So it's 248 years since America had its first Pluto return. It's now coming up right now as we speak. That was the time you had the mad King George to deal with. Now you've got, dare I say it, the nutty Yeti. So one more quick question here. Let's see. What do we want to know? Is it, I'm trying to, I thought I wrote down all your questions, but I might have missed some. Oh yes, that's another thing on Ivanka. She might have another baby. I've said that before to try and keep out of jail, who knows? But yeah, so don't be surprised. Now, Pluto return. I'm going to ask generally how America's going to handle it. I might move to my fate shifters for this. Pluto is very difficult, takes no prisoners. It digs out what's rotten. And I think in a perverse way, Trump doing Tulsa, Trump doing Jacksonville, he's playing his role, because don't forget, all jokes aside, he's a symptom of what's wrong with America. He's not the cause. It predates him. So let's look at the bigger picture right here, right now, how America's going to handle its Pluto return, digging out all those dreadful tumours that have been going on in the underbelly, you know. So let's look. America's Pluto return. This is from now till Christmas, just generally. Of course, the Yeti has said, if I get voted out, I will go peacefully. Like you can believe anything. I'll look at that in the next video or two. Pluto return, US. Pluto return. How's the US going to handle Pluto return? Pentacles, 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 Wands. So, Queen of Pentacles, who in these sort of readings I take to be Nancy Pelosi, she's, for want of a better image, the mother of the nation here now. If you think of Biden as the sort of cuddly toy, she's the one steering the nation through this time. The Knight of Pentacles, or the mercenary, but it's not so much the mercenary aspect now, surprisingly, I feel with this. It's more the taking stock, standing still and taking stock of what has happened and how money is distributed. She is looking at how money is distributed, even though she would be what most of us here on this channel would call a corporate dem. She nonetheless wants to see some redistribution of income, because this is the rotten core of what's going on, is the unfair distribution of money. So if you think of this as the workers, they've been prepared to just be guns for hire and go to work with terrible conditions and watch things slip backwards and children not be able to get ahead in life. I think it's the card of taking stock. But then the Nine of Pentacles, which is considerably more comfort and ease, which is, it's underneath the Queen here, which is that, to me, this is sort of a breakthrough in a way of moving towards the very beginnings of moving towards a better system. Now, it's a 9, so this person is quite comfortable in their own skin. So it's sort of taking stock and aiming for this. I don't think this is the reality for what would be, let's say, 70% of working people or something. This is what people want to aspire to, that if you work the Pentacles, you actually can have a life. And that's a life that shouldn't be full of stress, financial stress. If you've got a job, let alone 2 people earning in a household, you should not be under dire financial stress. There's something wrong in Australia, the UK, America, where you have the working poor. There's something really wrong with that. And this is aspiring for something higher. I'm very pleased to see that. And the outcome, a celebration of sorts. I'm hoping this means the democratic win. And alliances, the coming together, it's the wedding card. The 4 of Wands, stability, creating a new stable place to be. So that's actually better, I'll be frank with you, than I expected. So that's good news. But hang in there, everybody, because remember, these are very difficult times. 248 years ago, people didn't wake up and think, oh, great, the revolution's here, you know, I want to be on the barricades. They weren't thinking that. Events just took hold, and you're either on the right side of history or you're not. So you may as well be on the right side of history. And for doing that, please, please, take breaks from the news. Take time out, 10 or 15 minutes a day, from all the chaos and the fear and all the worry, and go, okay, what does a better world look like? How can we be more inclusive? How can we make a more just world for everybody? So if millions of people every day do their little spot of meditation, these little acts of kindnesses that you can do for people, start to join up. So random acts of kindness are really good for you as well as the person that you do it for. So stay strong, big breaths. See you soon. Bye, guys. Keep those comments rolling.